My name is Brian Roderman. I'm the Chief Innovation Officer for Into Innovation. We want to welcome you back to our Whiteboard Innovation Series. Today we're going to talk about the third segment in our series, so let's get right into it. If you recall, we got together last time, we talked about balance, thinking, and today we're going to talk about gains in innovation. In order to talk about gains in innovation, today we're going to put innovation in a box. And in that box we're going to define some parameters. On this axis we're going to talk about time. On this axis we're going to talk about effort. Over here in this corner, we're going to talk about the things we know, and over here, we're going to talk about the things we don't know, or the unknowns. Now, this defines our box. What's really interesting about this innovation box is this is how a lot of people think about innovation. They think about innovation as one really big thing. And in reality, that's not the case. Innovation really is broken down into smaller segments, different pieces, different levels of innovation. So what we want to do is define those different segments of innovation for you today, and then talk about how you can gain in your innovation in your company. So the first segment that we really want to highlight is this one right here. And this is the segment we like to refer to as incremental. Now in incremental innovation, this obviously is focused on a lot of things that we already know. And so what we find is we're really dealing with here with more things that are focused on areas of cost reduction. Taking products that we already have and enhancing them in a way that we can actually get an incremental gain. Now, the interesting thing here, too, is this actually is a very controversial level of innovation. And the reason for that is because a lot of people think that this is really just new product development and doesn't necessarily define itself as an innovation platform or segment. But the experts do agree this is a level of innovation, and that's why it is in our innovation box. Let's talk about the second level of innovation. Obviously, this one consumes a lot of the innovation box, and this is what we like to refer to as transitional innovation. Now, in transitional innovation, this also can be referred to as next generation innovation. This is really taking a known platform and building a new platform from that. It's a product enhancement or a product extension. It really allows us to create a new product off of something we already know, but also allows us to move into an unknown category and allows us to generate more revenue off that product, maybe position it at a higher price point. This is why this is such a very popular space for innovation within organizations. The third segment that we want to identify is one that's very important to innovation, but it's probably one of the most misunderstood parts of innovation. And this is what we refer to as the breakthrough category of innovation. Now, the reason this gets so highly recognized is because this is where the C-level management of most companies, large organizations, like to focus. They talk about creating new breakthrough products, right? The challenge with the breakthrough space is obviously we're hanging out here in the unknown space. We're having to find a lot of new things, not necessarily things that we know right now today. So we have to create a lot of new unknown territories to get the breakthrough to work for us. But we also know that this is a space where a lot of people on Wall Street and a lot of shareholders and stakeholders like to focus when they think about innovation within an organization. Now that we've identified the three categories, let's talk about where we can gain in innovation. Back here in the incremental space, we can probably expect a gain of 5% revenue gain in this territory, because we're really, again, focused more on cost reduction than we are creating new. Now, if we look at the transitional space, you can expect somewhere in the category of double-digit growth, double-digit gain in this particular category. And this is like 10, 12, 15%. So this, again, is an area where a lot of people like to focus because they can get double-digit growth, but still work from a lot of the existing knowns that they have in the company. Over here, in the breakthrough space, you can expect a big reward for a big effort and big risk taken. And that is share, going after market share, creating dominance in the market, or even creating a whole new industry or a whole new segment in the market so that you can take that share and put it in your organization. There you go. We've talked about gains, and obviously we've talked about segments. It's time for our test. Let's see how well your company does in these three categories. Remember last time we got together, we talked about thinking. And we talked about the thinking map, which really looks like a pyramid divided in half. And you remember the divergent and the convergent thinking? Well, let's apply the thinking map to the levels of innovation we have here in our innovation box. Over here in Incremental, what you'll typically find is there's a whole lot of convergent thinking going on in the incremental space. And the reason for that is it's a really fast way to get to your revenue generation. And if you're really honest about it, you'll probably see that there's a smaller amount of creative or divergent thinking going on in your incremental innovations over here. This, again, is very popular within organizations because it can happen very quickly. And a lot of people, they like to do it in 3-month periods, or basically every quarter, like to actually create new innovations and get them to market so they can focus on that quick revenue. How about up here in Transitional? Well, again, we apply our thinking map. What you'll find is you'll have a pretty significant amount of convergent thinking, but you'll also have an equal balance of divergent thinking. Why is that? Well, it's because you're beginning to take more risk. You're beginning to move away from that known area and working with all the data and analyzing that information, and you're really beginning to work your way back into this fuzzy space. Starting to ask more questions about the consumer, the customer. What type of technologies do we want to apply? What can we build on? This is a really happy, comfortable space for a lot of people. It's one I really like because you really can get a good balance of divergent and convergent thinking going in the transitional space. Okay, how about over here? Well, obviously, this is where the company is going to apply more time, apply more effort, take more risk, create more challenges, and ultimately, because we have C-level support, we ultimately know that we're going to be applying both a very significant amount of convergent and hopefully a very significant amount of divergent thinking. We really need to max out the map here. This is really going to take us on a long journey, a long path. We're going to have a lot of big barriers most likely to overcome. But if we're successful in that activity, we are going to gain in market share. So there you have it. We've just talked about gains. We broke it down. We've talked about the segments. We've talked about where you can gain and how you can apply your innovation thinking to this particular map of gains. So let's summarize. We've talked about balance. We've talked about thinking. Today we talked about gains. The next time you join us, we're going to talk about how to be focused in innovation. If you have any other questions, please join us at intoinnovation.com. I want to thank you for joining us today. We've had a lot of fun. We hope you have too, and we hope to see you again real soon. Take care. For an interesting read on a related subject, check out the book by Thomas Friedman, The World is Flat.